The most interesting game of the Seattle Mariners 2025 season. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? Sorry it's been so long since I posted a video. I'm going to get more into it. I've been super busy these past few months, and I'm also going on Jake's podcast tomorrow, so you guys will see that at some point shared across X. But the Seattle Mariners just completed a series win against the Texas Rangers, in which today's game was very eventful. And I want this to be a more laid back, going into a little bit of detail from today's game that, in my opinion, made it a super interesting game. So first off, we're going to talk about the fact that every single game this weekend went into extra innings, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the bullpen for both teams threw a total of 35 innings in just 3 games. So both bullpens were basically against the wall. So one of the reasons that makes this such an interesting game is that basically after Trent Thornton, if this game went into a 13th or even 14th inning, Juan Burgos was the only Mariners reliever that would have been available. And if, for those of you that do not know, it would have been his first MLB appearance, so aka his MLB debut in the 13th inning of an insane game. So that is reason number 1 that made today so interesting. So Luis Castillo and Jack Leiter both went 6 innings, and they both gave up the same number of hits and the same number of earned runs. But the run that Jack Leiter gave up was interesting for the fact that it was on a Dom Canzone fly ball to center that allowed Randy Arozarena to tag up from first base, which is an extremely uncommon move unless it's, noticeably deep. A lot of guys just kind of hang out in the middle ground and hope if it falls, they'll go, but otherwise they're just going to go right back to first base. And then the next at bat, Mitch Garver comes in and has an RBI single, so that was a huge point in the game that tied this up. And this was also the Mitch Garver revenge game. Mitch was 3 for 6 today with 4 RBIs, as well as Donovan Solano had the other 2 RBIs. 2 guys that we do not usually say had the full effect on a Mariners win. So the next interesting part of this game is Osuna on the Texas Rangers ended up stealing second, and the Mariners ended up wasting their challenge because they ended up losing it. And as some of you know, this ended up trying to come into play in extra innings when Christopher Negron sent Cal Raleigh on a single, and he ended up being thrown out at home. Which, in my opinion, to begin with, was a bad send anyway, because Osuna already had the ball in his glove before Cal had even touched third base. But nonetheless, when you go back and look at the replay, it looked like Cal was safe to begin with. But since the Mariners did not have any challenge, and it did not seem like any of the coaches were trying to get a crew chief review, it ended up being nothing, and Cal was out at home. And then Mitch Garver comes into play, where he comes up clutch with another single and ends up scoring, I believe it was Randy from second base, which may give the Mariners a 3-1 lead, but if he never sent Cal to begin with, it would have been 4-1. Now moving into the bottom of the 10th inning, you have Corey Seager at the plate, who was already in a 3-0 count, and instead of intentionally walking him like they did one of the nights previously that ended up working, they end up still pitching to him, and he ties the game. But if you did end up walking him, Marcus Semien did end up hitting a ground ball to third base, I believe, which could have been a game-ending double play. So in my opinion, that is some managerial/coaching mistakes on those fronts, but this game continues to get interesting. Nobody does anything in the 11th inning of the game, but then when it comes to the 12th inning, Mitch Garver has a massive 2-run home run that went 437 feet. Now, the other part that makes that home run super interesting is about half of Mitch Garver's RBIs this entire season have come in the past 4 games. And just on top of that, just throw in Trent Thornton getting out one of his childhood friends in Corey Seager, which in the first time the two had faced off, Trent Thornton had walked him in 4 pitches, and this time Trent Thornton won the battle and got Corey to pop up. But I thought I would just make a quick little video just talking about how interesting the dynamic of this game was, but I am still slightly concerned about some of the managerial and coaching mistakes that we are seeing in certain games that really can come down the line and hurt us in the end. I am going to make a couple videos this week discussing some of the Donovan Solano turnaround and some other players that I've been trying to keep a close eye on. I know I have not been posting a lot, but I promise I have been watching, just not as much as I have wanted to. But either way, today I'm glad I got to watch the entire game because it certainly was a very interesting game and arguably one of the most interesting of the 2025 season. So please let me know what you guys thought of this series as well as today's game. I hope to see you guys more often here. I'm going to be posting more frequently, I promise. Otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys later this week. Peace out.